Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel for the love of life with Mare. Today we are going to be making cabbage rolls since I've had a lot of requests to film this. I thought I would do it today since I will be making it for my husband's family for Thanksgiving. Basically, I learned how to make cabbage rolls and most of my cooking from my Nana. And my background, well, my heritage is Yugoslavian. So what we want to do is we want to get a good sized head of cabbage, and we're going to clean out the outer leaves, but save them, okay? Don't throw them out. Then what you do is we have to cut around this core, and usually I start by scoring it a little bit. This takes me a little bit of time since I don't have the strength in my arms like I used to. Now on the core, what we do is we just make an X out of it, and then you basically just cut around, because we're going to pop this section out first. Okay? And it usually does come out. Just got to wiggle your knife in there. And you might lose some leaves, but again, save these, because that is going to be what lines our bottom of our pan. Now, if you have to make some smaller squares, some smaller cuts, go ahead. And usually the first thing popping the core out is the hardest. The rest will come out. And then what we do is we just keep on making little slits until we get that core out. And sometimes they fly out. Sometimes they're an SOB to get out. Now, I'm not going to be following the exact recipe that my grandmother did, because normally what she does is she mixes the beef with ground pork, and she gets her meat grinder out, and she mixes the both meats together, and then she seasons them. Today I'm only using the ground beef, and I try to get the lean ground beef or the medium ground beef, because I don't want a whole lot of grease. And I don't pre-cook my hamburger. Some people do, and that's fine, but I don't do that. Our main ingredients for our meat, once I get this cabbage prepped, I will get all that out, and with all my spices and that, my ground beef. And what you're going to do is you're going to make like a little hole here. And this will help separate the cabbage once you boil it, because we're going to boil it to a hard boil for about 15 minutes. And I normally, to prevent burns in that, I normally start with my cabbage in like the cold water and then bring it up to a boil that way. So now we have our hole. See? And then we're going to get our little cooking pot. And we're going to put it in the pot. And as you can see, my pot isn't as big. Now, I don't know if I have my other, my stew pot. I have no idea where it is, people. So what we're going to do, this one here would be good. But what we're going to do is, before we put our water in, and you're going to fill it up to the handle, okay, with the water. And as the water boils, you can easily take like a meat fork and you'll be rotating your cabbage, okay? But what we're going to do is, to sweeten the cabbage a little bit, we're going to put some sugar in here. Not a whole, you don't need a whole lot. But we're going to make like a sugar water. And we're going to put the sugar in there. And then what we're going to do at first, we're going to turn this upside down. And then we will fill this up with water. And we'll put it on the stove on high. And we'll get that to a boil. It usually takes about 20 minutes to 25 minutes for your cabbage to be done. And you don't want your cabbage soggy. You still want it a little bit firm, but not so limp, okay? So I'm going to put water in the pot. I'm going to start it on boil, and I'll be back in a minute, and we'll do the meat. Okay, now we're back. The cabbage is boiling on the on the stove. It's not at a hard boil yet, but while we wait for that, what we're going to do is we're going to prep our meat. Now, as I said before, Nana, she used to always get beef and pork, and how many pounds you get of your beef, that's how many pounds you got of your pork. And she would take her little meat grinder and she would grind the pork and the beef together. And then after that, she would add her spices to it. But we're just going to do the lean ground beef. And this tube, to tell you approximate price, was $47.30. So, and this has about, well, it weighs 4.3 kilograms. So to convert that into pounds, you would multiply that by 2.2. So 4.3 multiplied by 2.2 is approximately 10 pounds, right? So, and by the way, I'm not talking to myself. I'm talking to my husband too. He's a mathematician. Me, forget it. So, and this was $10.99 per kilogram. So, okay. What we're going to do is we're going to cut this in half. Okay. And I think now my husband got cabbage, well, when he went out to go get me my cabbage, they were on sale. So, since I'm making cabbage rolls already, instead of getting one head, he ended up getting 3. So since I'm making cabbage rolls already, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook all 3 of those cabbages, and I'm going to use all of this meat, and I'm going to then just make a whole bunch of cabbage roll dishes, and I can freeze them and put them in containers, and then this way here they can go in the freezer. And it's great for my mother-in-law, because then she can just take it out and she has her meal for the night, or for the day. So, and I do the same with when I'm making my stuffed peppers. Basically, what I do is I get a bunch of peppers, and Oh, come on out. I get a bunch of peppers, and then I just make a big stewing pot, and what's left over, what we'll do is we'll end up freezing it. So, okay, that can go there. So as you can see, I used about 3/4 of the tube. And I'll show you 1 second. Let's get this out of the way. I got about 1/4 of the tube of the hamburger left. And this here, I'm going to show after once I roll out my cabbage, I'll have probably some little bits and pieces of cabbage left over. I'll do a video on how I make my lazy man cabbage and that. So that's what we'll do there. So I'll just set this aside. And now I'll bring this over here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put our spices in now. So I ran out of my gloves, so I just take a large Ziploc bag, and this is how I just mix up the meat. Plus, with my neuropathy in my hands, anything that's cold and I'm working with a long time, my pain level rises. So the plastic bag, or if I use my plastic gloves, it helps out a lot. Okay, so now that we got our meat mixed up a little bit, we're going to start and do our spices. Now, we use some black pepper. Okay. And then I use about a tablespoon of the pink Himalaya salt. I normally don't cook a lot with the salt. With salt, it's like everybody adds their own. Okay? And I'm sorry on measurements. Nana never had measurements. She always eyeballed everything, and I just gotten so used to doing it. But I figured this way here, I can give you a rough estimate. Now this is parsley flakes, so I basically add about a capful and a half. This is my first time videotaping me cooking, so normally I just dump everything in. And I hope everyone is having all my Canadian subscribers and friends, I hope they have a great Thanksgiving weekend and they celebrate with their family. Everybody has something to be thankful for. Okay, what I just put in was a roasted garlic and peppers, and the peppers added is the sweet peppers. And that's great. The green peppers, if you tend to have reflux or you get heartburn or anything, the green peppers will promote that. Same with your cucumbers. Okay, so the skins of the cucumber, that's what promotes your heartburn. So if you just peel off your cucumber, it'll save you on that. And then what we're going to do, we're going to use your Italian Delight spices, and this is all your basil. It has pepper in it. Your oregano, etc. So, and what I do there is I use another capful. Okay. And then we're going to use paprika. And we're going to put a cap full of paprika. Okay, and then we're going to use our garlic plus. Now our garlic plus, it has your parsley and everything. My husband loves garlic. It has red peppers. It's high in oleic sunflower oil. And it also has like your garlic and that. So that's what we add. I'm going to be adding a cupful of this. And you're going to make sure that you mix this very well. Okay. And then I add 2 packages of your onion soup. And this is not, like I said, this isn't 100% of my Nana's recipe. My brother makes awesome, my younger brother, he makes awesome cabbage rolls. And he follows Nana's recipe to a T. And it takes him all day to make them. But, nope. I do shortcuts. Okay. So we have 2 packages of onion soup in there. We have our spices in there. Now what we're going to do is to make sure that our spices are incorporated in the meat fully. We're going to just mix it up a little bit. And you'll see probably my hamburger flying out of my pan. Now my bowl, I used to have a great big bowl, but it had an accident. I dropped it and I broke it. And then I had another one and I was so upset that one broke, but so we're gonna mix. I usually concentrate on one area first and I get that all incorporated and then I move on to the other area. Normally I get my husband to mix a meat. But he's being a sweetheart and he's doing my dishes for me. Okay, so that's pretty good. And why I tend to mix often is because I want every piece of the meat having some kind of, like having the spices. You don't want someone to get, like one part of your roll, just, you know, a clump of spice. We used to say that if you did get a roll like that, you got elected to do the dishes afterwards. That's what we did when we were kids. I used to love spending time with my grandmother in the kitchen and listen to all her stories. My grandfather loved to cook too. Listen to all her stories and as she was cooking. And that my grandson, he loves to bake. He loves to cook and bake with me. Okay, so now we have that. Now to keep everything stuck together, we're going to use some eggs. So I have 6 eggs here. So basically, like making your rolls is just like making a meatloaf. Oh, I got some shells. So, an easy way to get shells out of your meat is not take it with your fingers, take it with an eggshell. And what you do, it scoops it up. It scoops it up better. Same with if you're making scrambled eggs and you happen to get a shell in your eggs. It's easier just to take the shell and scoop up those little pieces than it is with your fingers. So now we have 6 eggs in here. Okay. And I'm going to set this off to the side. We are going to put rice in it. And this is what, the eggs and the rice is what helps stick the meat together. You can use whatever kind of rice you want. I use the instant rice, either the white or the brown. And today I figured I'm going to just use up my brown. So what we're going to do is, we're going to, and again, I don't measure. So I'd say approximately 3 cups of rice for this meat, or maybe 2.5. But what I usually do is I usually cover my meat until I can't see the hamburger anymore, and then I kind of spread it out, and I judge. And as you're mixing, if you think you need more rice, then you add the rice in. Because if you add too much rice, what's going to happen is when you put your tomato juice and that in, the rice is going to absorb the tomato juice, and then you won't have any sauce for your cabbage rolls. So, and my mother-in-law loves the sauce left over, because then what I do with that is I take that and I make cabbage soup out of it. So, and of course, as you can see, I'm making a mess. And what you're going to do is you're going to mix all that up and see how everything, now the meat is all sticking together. Before it was dry and it would just fall off. Now it's all sticking together. Growing up, when we usually have Christmas or like the holidays, what we would do is we would have like your normal turkey and your ham, but then Nana would make cabbage rolls, and she'd make her meatballs, and she'd get fresh sausage from the butcher, and she would do the bratwurst sausage and the kielbasa, the ham kielbasa. And normally around this time here in late September, early fall, well, early October, my grandfather, Upple, he used to go to the butcher and get a whole pig, and they used to come over every fall, and my grandfather used to cut up the meat and make his own sausages and everything, and that would last through the winter, through the spring, and in the 70s and the 80s, that's how they conserved the money. Nowadays, the prices and the economy is getting up so bad that you can't really, it's a lot of money to even buy a small pig or a beef, half a cow. Okay, I did pretty good. Nothing really fell out of the bowl. That's amazing. Okay, so everything is mixed. And now what we have to do is we have to wait for our cabbage to be done. So, oh boy, I picked out, my thumb went through the hole. So, this here, what we're going to do, we're going to cover this and we're going to put it in the fridge. And while that's doing, I will be back when my cabbage is done, and I will show you how we roll it. Okay, now we're back. My cabbage is done, and I drained it. It's been still draining. What you want to do is you want to get a pot and then put a strainer on top of it. Put your cabbage face down, like the core down, so that all the hot water drains out of there and it's less chances of you getting burned. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take our leaf of cabbage, and it's okay if it's broken, but you see this big stem here, it's still a bit crunchy, but what I do is I take and I roll up the leaves of the cabbage, and I just cut a few of the outer leaves, and I line my base, my roasting pan with it. So sometimes your outer leaves, they will tend to burn a little bit or go brown a little bit, but that's okay. Nana used to say, "That's Vigo." And the thing with spices, okay, is better to add a little than you can add more, okay, than add a lot, because you can't take that away. So that goes for your salt. It's mainly like for salt. And I was always told never to use garlic salt. Always your garlic powder. Because even though that you see like, okay, garlic salt, well, and then you add salt on top of that, your dish, whatever you're going to be making, is going to taste like a pile of salt. Too much of salt is bad for you. So, one more, and then we can start rolling. Oh, no, I think one more. Because, see, I want to line my pan up with the cabbage, the outer leaves of the cabbage. When my daughter was small, she, believe it or not, she used to help me make the cabbage rolls. I say that because now she doesn't really cook, but I used to give her a little knife, and this was her job. I take the outer leaves and I would run it under cold water. And she would cut up the cabbage. It's always nice to let your kids do a little bit of prepping when you're starting to cook, and that, because this way here it helps them with their how should I say, I don't think it's motor skills, I think it's something else or whatever, but it helps them, you know, to use scissors and to eventually write and that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our cabbage, and we still have this piece of the stem of the leaf. So you're going to take your knife, and all you're going to do is just thinly cut that down, and if your leaf breaks apart, don't worry about it. So then now this is flat, and then you can cut this up. We waste nothing. cut this up and throw this in our pot. Okay, now we have our leaf. You're going to spread it out so it kind of lays flat, but you'll get the bubble. It'll curl, but don't worry. And you're going to take, I'd use a spoon, like a gravy spoon or something, and you're going to take it, your meat, and then you're going to press it down a little bit into like a log. So a log is going to form. Okay. Then you're going to put your, at the base of your leaf, and you're going to fold, going to wrap it, and then you're going to kind of like tuck. And then all you're going to do is just take your outer leaves and you're going to fold this in. And I hope I'm in the camera view so you can see what I'm doing. And you're going to fold it in, and all you're going to do is you're going to wrap. Okay? And you're going to make sure that your roll is kind of tight. So, see? And then you're going to put it in your pan. You're going to lay it flat. And that's what you do. You just keep repeating the process until all your cabbage is done. And you're going to take off each leaf. Owie, owie, owie. This would be a better way. Okay? Normally, I would have like a little fork. And I would peel the leaves off. And kind of separate them out a little bit. But be careful because your cabbage is still hot. Thank you, hon. Ouch! Ouchie mama. Okay. There we go. And normally, sometimes it's like a bugger trying to find the end of your, to separate your leaves. And sometimes they stick. But, whoosh. As you can see, I don't know if you can see the steam coming off that cabbage, but it's hard. It's hot. So just be warned and just be careful when you're doing this. I have to be more, how should I say, more cautious because with the neuropathy in my hands, I see the steam, and that's how, like, I'm reacting to the steam, okay? Because I see it's hot. But in all reality, I don't feel it. I just feel like a little bit of warmth, and actually it feels good. That's why they don't recommend people with neuropathy, peripheral, or whatever kind you have. They don't recommend people using whatchamacallits, heating pads or heating blankets, because we don't feel the heat. So we'll have that thing turned on high, and what'll happen is we'll end up burning ourselves. So what we're going to do with this part here, we're just going to set this aside, and we're going to work with the leaves that we've taken apart. And now, as you know, okay, you'll find that when you go in the middle, toward the middle of the cabbage, the leaves won't be as tender. Don't worry about it. What we're going to do is we're going to still do the same thing. You cut that stem off. Okay. You take your scoop of meat. And you roll. I hope everyone's having a great day. Okay, and you keep repeating the process. Now what I'm doing with the stems now, I'm just going to save that for when I get to the top. Now, you can buy your shredded bag of cabbage. You know, the bags that you can make coleslaw with. In there, it'll have like your red cabbage, your leaf lettuce cabbage, your green cabbage. Sometimes it has shredded carrots in it. And normally I do that, but I didn't do it this time. Now, an easy way, you can cut your leaf, okay? Just keep on rolling. Keep folding the edges in as you're coming. And then make sure when you roll, you kind of tug a little bit. This way here, everything stays inside. And when it's done cooking and you scoop it out, your cabbage will stay intact with your meat. And you just keep filling up your pan. Now, you can take your leaf and cut it in half, okay? Take the side of the stem, all right? And throw that part in. I'm just going to toss it in there. What the heck? Okay, now with this part here, what you can do, and you'll get smaller rolls of cabbage. What you can do, remember, make your log, okay? Roll it up. And see this way here, I put too much meat in it. So you take your meat out, put that back at your base, roll it, fold up your sides. Okay? Turn it over, tug a little bit more, and there you go. Okay? For this one here, somebody is going to get gypped. You just take it, roll it, and this one here, you don't even have to roll up the sides. Look at that. And there you go. Now, this had a cabbage. It was a pretty good size. And I have my extra large roasting pan. So, I think it's good that my husband bought the 3 heads. I've already done, well, 1 head of cabbage is here. I've got another head on the stove, and it's a-cooking. And again, the reason why you put the eggs in is because it holds, it's like your glue. It'll hold your rice, it'll hold your meat all together. I was listening to another content creator, and he asked me how I made my cabbage rolls. And I told him. And he says, you're doing it all wrong. I said, okay, how do you do yours? He says, well, my mother used to put in Parmesan cheese and mozzarella. And she said that was your glue. And I'm like, oh, no. But if that's the way you like it, then go ahead. Like I said, there's a lot of, with cooking, it's like an experiment, okay? You get what you want, you put it together, and sometimes it turns out, sometimes it don't. But this is the easy way, and you can't. The only thing that you might goof up on is if you add too many spices or not enough. That's the only thing. Other than that, this is a very easy. you get in a groove. You can throw on a movie or something if you have a television in your kitchen. I don't. But I usually bring my phone and I listen to somewhere on. Now see how this isn't incorporated? Okay? That would be the winner chicken dinner. You got to do dishes. So what we'll do is we'll go in there and we'll mix it up again. And I just found a spot of, oh boy, so we're going to have that black pepper. So, okay, better. Now, oh, there it is. I don't have my glasses. So, let me take that and fold that up. And there you go. And I'm sorry I haven't been up on, I've been slacking on making videos and everything. I do have some Halloween and some fall videos and crafts that I've been doing. Real life has gotten in the way, and it's just been, lately it's been one thing after another. So, and that's one of the reasons why some people really don't see me in the chats anymore. And that because I tend to watch the replays now when I'm up and I can't sleep, and when nobody else is on. Okay. Remember to tug a little bit, see, pull a little bit toward you when you roll. This way here, it gives a nice tight roll. And if your cabbage splits a little bit, don't worry about it. It all goes down the same way. Don't fret. Cooking is supposed to be fun and relaxing. Just don't get overwhelmed. And I know it's easier said than done, because trust me, when I know I have family coming over and they're wanting to eat, and then you know, you get busy, you got to make sure that your house is spotless. You got to make sure that you cook everything what they like. And now I used to be so worried about that. Now it's like, well, you know what? You don't like what I cook, then I'm sorry. As my grandson would say, too bad, so sad. Okay. And this video is going to be going out in parts. So you'll have part 1, part 2, part 3, because of the time that it takes to cook your cabbage and that. And then when it's done cooking, I'll show you the finished result, what it looks like. But now, if you have picky kids that don't like the cabbage, okay, you can just make the little logs and tell them that it's meatloaf. But they need their vegetables, and cabbage is a great source of iron, and that's one of the reasons why I don't really, you know, you don't really want to boil it too long, because you're going to take anything you boil or whatever, you'll take your nutrients out of your vegetables or anything, and they'll end up in the water. But what I did was I just kind of like blanched my cabbage so it's enough to stick a fork. You know, it's tender enough to stick a fork, and it's pliable enough that you can work with it. But as you can see, this part here, this outer part, is a lot harder than what is doing with the inner part. Now, if they don't like the cabbage roll, I just went down off a trail. If they don't like the cabbage roll, what you can do is you can roll up your meat, but set some hamburger aside, okay? And cut up or shred some vegetables. Shred some carrots, shred your cabbage, you know, and you hide it in your meat. They'll never know the difference. If you do it small enough, they'll never know the difference. Now, some people like their cabbage rolls served with sour cream. Some like it with like sugar on top. But that's the reason why I put sugar in my water when I boil the cabbage. So basically it sweetens it. And it also, another factor, like I think I mentioned this before, but another factor is that if you have reflux and suffer from heartburn and everything, your tomato has a lot of acid. So by boiling your cabbage in like the sugar water in that, when you use your tomatoes, it will cut some of that acid off. Now, if you really suffer with it, when you do eat your cabbage rolls, you can I recommend just putting a little bit of sugar on top. It'll help with that there. And it'll also, my grandson loves my cabbage rolls now because, well, I show him, you know, I put a little bit just a little bit, not a whole lot, like sprinkle it. That's the word. As you can tell, I'm no Martha Stewart or Betty Crocker, so I don't know all the terms, but if you show them and then they taste it, and then they'll eat the whole thing. When I was growing up, our rule was if you didn't eat what was put in front of you, you went hungry. My dad used to sit us at the table, and we used to not be able to get up until we were done. Oh, yeah, boże moi. This won't come apart. Okay. Allez. Sorry, force of habit. When things go a little bit tough in that, you might hear a few Slovak words coming out here and there. It's not that bad, but, you know. They're not really swearing words. Dodo Mali means like a dodo bird, you know. Ale means my goodness, or, you know, it could be used like that. That's what I was always taught. When my grandmother, when she came to Canada, my father was 8. And when they came to Canada, my grandmother learnt English. My aunt taught her. And she refused refused to speak in her native tongue outside of the home. She was so blessed that she was in Canada and away from the wars and everything. And she said, Canada gave me a new home, a new life, security. She said, I'm gonna learn how to speak English. Now, her English, I tell you, some of the words, they were funny. And as a kid growing up, it was hilarious listening to her. But, you know, I had a lot of respect for her. The funniest thing was in college, I worked at a few fast food restaurants when I was going through nursing. And one day she came up and she went into the place that I worked, and I worked at Burger King. And she called Burger King King Burger. You know. So that was one of the things in that. So my one set of grandparents, they were from Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, and a small little town there. And then I had my mom's parents, my grandfather's. My grandfather, he was Irish, and my grandmother was English. So that was a good combination, Slovak and Irish. Yoy. Okay, now you see that this is kind of hard, right? You can't roll this. So you got one or two options. You can either stick it back in the water, which, nah, I got another cabbage boiling. Or what you can do is you can just chop this up, and we have one layer done, right? So we're going to chop this up, and we're going to use this for in here for our second layer. Okay, 1 second. Thank you. Okay. Now, what I started doing was I started chopping up like celery, and I would put shredded carrots in this layer and that, because after once the cabbage is all done, sometimes there's still a lot of juice left. And that's what my mother-in-law, she really enjoys that. And she would have like a cabbage soup. And it would have her vegetables in there and everything already. So. Now, you can freeze your cabbage rolls, okay? After once they're done cooking. What I do is I go to Dollar Tree or Dollarama and get those trays, individual trays, you know, the meal prep things. You can get those, and you fill up your cabbage rolls and your sauce, put your lid on, then take a Ziploc freezer bag, okay, and you put that in the freezer, like in the freezer bag. Normally an extra large bag works, just depending on the size of the container you have. and then put the date on it. And this will help your cabbage rolls not to become like, not to get freezer burn or anything like that. Okay, just have a little bit more. And my leaves on my cabbage for the other one is starting to be done. So, there we go. See, that's a nice layer. And again, now, what I do is I take my roasting pan, okay, after once we got our juice in and our cabbage rolls all done, and then I put it in the oven at 400, and I put it in for 2 hours, okay. Put a pan underneath your roasting pan on the next grate so that it'll catch. Or you can stick a real big pan underneath your roasting pan if you have it. So then this way here it will catch any of the juice if it spills out. Sometimes it'll overflow, sometimes it won't. But just in case, and then that way there you don't have your mess in your oven. And then after the 2 hour mark, bring it out, check your meat. And if your meat is done, then it's done. I know it normally takes, I put it on for 400 for 2 hours, and then I check it, and then I'll put it for 350, probably for another hour, and then I know it's good. And you can have any side dishes that you want. I usually have like a salad. Like a salad, and then a vegetable mashed potatoes. And if you keep your rolls the same consistency of your meat, like the same size of meat, even if your leaves are bigger than the other ones, if you keep the same size amount of meat. I can't talk today, I'm sorry. The amount of meat in each side of the cabbage. This way here you know that the top of the meat is going to be cooked as well as the bottom rolls. They're going to be cooked. Look, because the last thing you want to do is have a roll with raw hamburger in it. And then again, you just shape it, make a log. Roll, tuck, tuck, and then pull, and then keep on rolling, and then you just fold it up. And there you go. Now for your sauce, okay, I've seen Nana used to cook it with, if you don't want tomatoes, Nana used to cook it just with like a beef broth. Or she would use like a chicken. I've even seen it done with a chicken broth. Okay. You can do that. Thank you. And eliminate your tomatoes. Or you could just put like a can of diced tomatoes in it. This is one of the reasons why, like, I don't have any beef broth with me, Like, I didn't buy any. I thought I had some, but I didn't buy any. But I had the French onion soup. So that's why I put, you know, the onion soup mix in it, in my meat. So... but, or you can use your tomato sauce and then put like a mixture, tomato and then hamburger. I mean hamburger, duh, onion soup. But yeah, but that's all you do. This part here is kind of boring. You just pick it and roll. It's repetition. Roll, tuck. And this, and when you, like I said, when you pull and you roll and do that, it guarantees that when you pick your cabbage roll up when it's done cooking, then it won't fall apart. But yeah. So what I will do is I will finish rolling up my cabbage and get my roaster all filled up. And I'll come back. We'll put the juice in. We'll put I'm just about done. I don't know. This, like I said, this part here is boring. I just want to say thank you to all my subscribers. I really appreciate you guys. And if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that would be awesome. It helps me get in the algorithms. My goal is to have 150 subscribers by the end of October, and I would like to have 500 by the end of December. That is my goal. I'll be producing more content and videos out and streams. So I do want to do like an inspirational, like a daily inspirational quote or something. Because my channel, you know, I was thinking of it, and I do love doing crafts. I love baking and cooking and that, and I named my channel for the love of life with Mare, right? So I figure I would tape and stream the stuff that I love and I love to do. Oi, this one here is kind of small. There we go. So I figured we'd do a little bit of you know, a little bit of this and that. And I'm still working the kinks out and everything. And so it'll be a learning process, but I figured, you know what? You guys can come and learn with me. Okay, I got more leaves are coming. Oh, shoot. Sorry. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Forgot, this is a strainer. We can easily wipe up the floor, that's all. It's only water. Well, a little bit of sugar. But we'll wash the floor. That way there, guaranteed no ants. So my pan is getting a little bit full. I think this roasting pan, I think this is it for it. So I'll finish up these layers and we'll top it off and then we'll put our juice. And then I'll have to find my other roasting pan and just keep making them, I guess. You can, if you find it easier, see how I'm pulling the leaf out away from me, but I'm tucking it, I'm pulling it back toward me, so I'm tightening up my roll. Okay, if we can find one little one. Do I have a little tiny leaf? Yeah, right here. This will do good. If I don't chop it off. Oh man, this is hot. This one is a hot. Okay. I can make a little baby one. We'll stick it in that hole. And I think that this pan is done. So what we're going to do with some of those lettuce leaves that we have left over, we're going to again chop them up. And we're going to put a layer like a bed on top. That's it? Okay, good. Because this pan is done. But I still got enough for... Okay. Now, it took to fill this roasting pan up, it took 2 heads of cabbage, okay, and about half of the hamburger that we made up. So, and basically you just keep chopping. And then you stagger this up on top. Now, some people like to put, sometimes my grandmother, and I've seen a lot of other people, they put sauerkraut on top. Me, no. Sauerkraut tastes like a, how should I say, touch and go. I have to be in a mood. Whoosh, mama. This is hot. Huh, I felt that one. Got a little bit too hot water on me. Like I said, you know, how should I say, it does take a long... Honey, can I please have a towel? I got too much water coming off. Your prep time and everything, and the rolling is the longest amount of time that it'll take you preparing this. Basically, like your cooking is probably about 3 hours, 3.5 hours. But when you're cooking, you can work on other things and do that. So, like when this is cooking, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to make. It's called a Watergate salad. Okay, that's what the real name is. But this used to be my grandmother's. On my mom's side, she used to make this kind of like Jello dessert or whatever for us kids growing up, and we only got it on holidays. So that is what my other grandmother used to do. My grandfather, he was in the army, and he went from a soldier. Well, he was always a soldier, but he went from a soldier, he was injured, and then he became a chef, and he was stationed out in, one of his stations was in Newfoundland, and he used to cook for the soldiers out there. And then my uncle, I come from a military family on my mom's side. My uncle, he was in the army, and I have two cousins. One was in the army, and one was in the Air Force, and they're both retired now. And yeah, so I always have respect for people who fought for our country. And that's one of the things that I am thankful for today on this weekend. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to give this to my lovely assistant to take away. And we're going to work on our sauce. Now, hopefully you can see this. Get this adjusted. Okay, now I have, I know it's open. I know it's open.
Dump it.
Don't worry. Okay, what we have is our diced can of tomatoes, and I have 3 cans. Okay, I have 2 large cans There's 796 milliliters. And yes, I do not know how to convert. So, and what I do is I'm going to put the 2 cans of the diced tomatoes on either side, okay? All right. Hon, can I get a wooden spoon, please? And then I have a can, and this one here is 540 milliliters. I like this one. This one's whole tomatoes. It's your Italian accent. And make sure you put it in your roasting pan, and like what I did, all over my hand, all over my table. There you go. And I just lay these guys up on top. Okay. And this is where if you want to put a little bit more spices on top to season your tomatoes, you can. If you want to put a little bit of sugar, you can. But I don't. I just leave it like this. Then what I do is wipe my hands on my towel. I hope everybody can hear me. Okay. Now, I have the Mott's tomato garden. Okay. And shake it up. And then what you're going to do is you're going to start and you're going to pour in the middle. Just pour it in the middle and you'll see the juice sink. Okay, and then you're going to pour it all the way around. And you're going to keep pouring. It usually will take one can, like one jar. But this is where if you want to add your like your beef broth or even like a chicken broth, you can add that in, but I don't. Sometimes I add the beef, but I don't add the chicken. Now what you're going to do is you can take, oops, that nearly flipped off the damn table. Oops, sorry. Okay, take your wooden spoon and kind of see how we're doing with the crease. I hope you can see this. And I'm doing the edges so then I can see exactly how full my pan is going to be. Like how full of juice I got. And remember, we put rice in our meat, right? Well, that rice is going to absorb some of your juice. So you're going to have to check if you need more salt, like if you need more juice, then put it in, because you don't want your cabbage rolls dried out. And I think I'm going to season a little bit of my tomatoes. I'm going to get my Italian seasoning and my parsley. And my husband likes his garlic. So I'm going to put those 3 seasonings and I'm just going to sprinkle it up on top. That's it. Okay, so we have 1 container of our juice. Okay? Now what you're going to do is you're going to have before you put it in the oven, just kind of like take your wooden spoon and go along the side of your roasting pan, okay? And make sure that the juice goes in. You know, that it seeped through your layers of your cabbage rolls. And once that is done, I just spread my tomatoes out. Okay. And I got a splatter. And I just tip a little bit. not too much because you don't want to dump it all. Oh, that would be a blooper, wouldn't it? Okay. And I have my Italian seasonings. If I could open up the jar. And you just sprinkle. Just sprinkle that all over. I don't have too much left in this jar, so I'm just going to use it up. Okay, you're going to mix it up a little bit. And then I have my garlic plus. And I just shake this. The smell of spices, they smell good. And I have my parsley flakes. And one thing that I was taught, that if you put too much garlic in a dish, and it's like a lot for you, parsley will cut the taste of the garlic. Okay, and then just mix it up just a little bit. Just so that it's incorporated just a little bit. You can still see the spices, but this way here it just doesn't look dried out. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to stick this in the oven. We're going to start it at 400 degrees. Okay, place a pan underneath your roasting pan, okay, to catch the drippings just in case if it tends to spill over or bubble over. And you're going to cook it for 2 hours, okay? I usually check an hour, all right, for my juice, okay, because I don't want my cabbage rolls dry. So in an hour, okay, set your timer, and in an hour, check to see what your juice level is. If you need more tomato juice, add more tomato juice. And there you have it. This is one of the ways that I do make my cabbage rolls. And when they're cooked, I'll come back and I'll show you my finished product. Okay, we're going to transfer this. Oh, shoot. Yay. Onto our pan. And we're going to cover that up. If you just want to, can you shut? I'm going to pause the video and we'll come back for our last thing. Last step. And thank you for watching, and hit the like button, please. Thanks. Love yous. Bye.